personal finance wisdom for real estate investors. And in fact, this could be for anyone, but since I mostly speak to real estate investors, it's going to be geared directly towards you. Hi, I'm Phil Pustiowski with freedommentor.com. I'm a full-time real estate investor. I'm a real estate mentor to literally thousands of people at this point, many of which are among the most successful real estate investors in their respective areas. And in this video, I want to share with you what I have discovered about personal finance and how it can apply directly to your plans of becoming financially free. Now, I would guess that you watched this video or came to discover about anything related to my program or my videos through the process of you trying to improve your personal financial situation. Am I right? I mean, at some point you were researching how to become wealthy, how to make more money, how to have a home-based business. At some point you were trying to improve your finances, and that's how you may have stumbled upon me and other people's videos that talk about real estate investing. Now, I believe that real estate investing, if done correctly, is the best small business in America by a landslide. But that's not actually what I'm going to cover here. What I want to cover is the different schools of thought on personal finance that are out there, and then share with you what I have discovered from all of this experience, as well as trying to test out and apply what I've learned from others. Okay, so when I first got started and I began the journey of becoming a real estate investor, it all began because I had just gotten out of college. I was flat broke. I had met several classmates in college whose parents were so well off financially. And I couldn't believe it, because these people had started broke like me when they were getting out of college. And I used to think to myself, how the heck did they get there? So I went to this place that's kind of a dinosaur these days. It's called a bookstore. They don't have that many around these days. Back then there was plenty of them. And I went to this bookstore and I wandered into the personal finance section. And even today, if you do so, I haven't been to one in a long, long time. I'm assuming many of the same titles still exist. This is what I saw. For the most part, I saw a bunch of books written by people like Dave Ramsey. Ironically, Dave Ramsey's from Nashville, where I'm from. A person named Suze Orman. I think that's her name. And these people, and many others as well, wrote books, and they have radio programs, and maybe they even appear on television, and they talk about creating a better financial picture for yourself, and they all pretty much have the same advice. And this is what they're going to say. They're going to say things like, set a budget. Okay, so you need to plan your spending. So that a budget is a spending plan. How much is going to go toward your house? How much is going to go toward the car? How much is going to go toward food and insurance? And you set a plan and you stick to that plan. And ideally, you spend less than you earn. You live below your means. Live below your means. Meaning you don't spend as much money as you earn. So you save money. You save, save, save. What do you do with that savings? Well, assuming you've got a budget worked out, you're now living below your means, you're now finally saving money, this is where they're going to teach you to invest your money in things like mutual funds. And so you would set up a retirement account, and you would try to max out your retirement account, and after you did that, then you'd set up other accounts, and you would invest in mutual funds and or other sorts of, quote, investments. And this advice right here has been around for eons. And what I want to talk to you in this video is where this advice is wonderful, but where it also breaks down. Okay, so having a budget, absolutely brilliant. You have to have a budget when you run a business. You should always have a budget personally. Now, what I do with my budgets is I use a system called Mint.com. Mint.com. And it will keep track of all of your expenses, and so you can put them in the right categories. Dave Ramsey, for example, he teaches that you should never use a credit card ever. No credit cards whatsoever. You should pay everything with cash. At least I think that's what he used to teach that anyways. He may not anymore, I don't know. Well, in today's society, you gotta have credit cards to buy things online and those sorts of things. You might use your debit card, but I recommend you always spend on the credit card just in case there's identity theft. So with credit cards, Mint does a great job. It keeps track of all of the expenses and you can put them in the right categories to keep to your budget. Budget, wonderful things. Or call it a spending plan. Living below your means, brilliant. Yes, you definitely want to do that because you want to be a day early and a dollar long. You probably already heard the other side of that phrase, which is a day late and a dollar short. So living below your means is wonderful. Being able to save, that is absolutely wonderful. I had a mentor of mine once tell me, he said, if you cannot or will not save, Phil, the seeds of success are not in you. I was like, whoa, that's pretty serious. Saving money is absolutely incredibly powerful. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Their advice seems to trickle down to invest in mutual funds. Okay, we'll talk about the pros and cons there. And then no credit cards, and it's no debt. Be completely debt free. Or I should say, debt free. Okay. Enter a completely different view of this entire idea. Enter Robert Kiyosaki. You may or may not have heard of this individual. I have one of his books here in the office, and that's a picture, that's a profile picture of him right there, Robert Kiyosaki. All right, so this guy came along and wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That book has sold, maybe you can just Google it and check out the number of sales. It's over 30 million. It's the most successful personal finance book ever written. But this guy's quite controversial because he, not completely, but for the most part, just bashed this entire idea. And he said that this right here was the slow way to wealth. He said that doing it that way, by the time you have enough money so that your investments, whatever you've done asset-wise that you've built up, by the time that's paying you enough money to live off of, you're retired and your life is basically wrapping up. So he said that this was the slow way to wealth. And so Kiyosaki's attitude was buy assets, not liabilities. Start businesses, invest, make mistakes. Invest and make mistakes. His attitude was go out there and go big. And his theories really resonated with a lot of people. And what was so interesting about what he had done here was he had also become enemy number one of mutual funds. He was teaching people not to invest in mutual funds, but to go invest in their own businesses, go buy real estate, and go have complete control over your investments. And if you are going to invest in the stock market, you better know what you're doing and buy individual stocks or play the game the way the other successful stock investors do, like Warren Buffett. So he came from a completely different approach. And by so doing, I know he inspired a lot of people to go out there and basically ignore this advice. Well, what I have discovered is that it's not that this guy is right and these people are wrong, or these people are right and this guy's wrong. It's actually both. Okay, and I'm going to put this, hopefully we can see it, I just kind of scan, go on both sides here. It's both. Both have incredible pieces of wisdom that you can learn from, that I'm going to share with you here in this video. And I'll tell you where it gets all summarized. It's not from these people or from this guy. I'll tell you the book. Here it is. The Millionaire Mind by Thomas J. Stanley. This is signal. If you watch any of my other videos, when I refer to signal, I refer to truth. That which is not the noise. This right here is the single greatest book on personal finance. And almost nobody knows about it. What they know about, or what they've heard about, is their more popular book called The Millionaire Next Door. This is an interesting read. The authors basically did a study of millionaires and discovered their habits, what they spend money on, what they don't spend money on. And I do think this is helpful. Certainly this is going to be helpful. In fact, a lot of the principles you learn in here talk about budgets, living below your means, saving money, investing wisely. So you say, well, how can the same author, Thomas J. Stanley, talk about this, but then all of a sudden incorporate this and this book right here? Well, that's the magic. In this book, what he does is he breaks down the 700 to 1,000 people that he personally met with in these focus groups, and he takes the lessons he learned from those people that were millionaires and he incorporates it into this book. I've either listened to the audio or read this book so many times I've lost count, because it's the stories of millionaires and how they got there. And one of the greatest themes in this book is that the decamillionaires, people $10 million or more, are business owners. So your million to 2 million people tend to be your 50 to 70-year-olds that had professional jobs and followed this advice here. Your decamillionaires also followed some of this advice, budgeting, living below your means, and saving, but they did have some debt, and they didn't invest in mutual funds. They started businesses. They used debt wisely to buy assets, and they did make mistakes along the way, but they learned how to become successful investors and business people. So, what I believe is the best model of all is a combination of the two here. And now this is where things get real interesting. So there is a dichotomy. There is something in conflict, at odds here. So from one perspective, from a personal expenditure standpoint, buying things for your personal use, you want to be frugal. So from a personal level, you want to be frugal. But from a business level, you want to be aggressive. Intelligent, you want to use your brain and not just blow money, but when it comes to business and investing, you want to be aggressive. So the more money you save, the more money can go into businesses, can go into assets, can go into investing, and can go into making mistakes on some of those things. And that creates an education for you. You spent the money, you learn what you're not supposed to do, but that makes you smarter and it shows you opportunities that other people wouldn't see. What I've discovered from my own life and my own experiences is that so often too many people are too scared to spend any money on assets, starting businesses, investing, and what ends up happening is they stay in the safe zone, which, hey, there's safety in this. But the problem is they never make the big returns. Now that is part of this dichotomy. So yeah, you want to be frugal as you could be on a personal standpoint. You don't need to drive the nicest car, have the biggest house. In fact, owning a home is usually a bad idea from a financial standpoint. It's almost always better to rent. Whoa, did I just tell you that? To rent a home as opposed to buy it? Yes, I invest in real estate. Owning real estate for rental purposes or buying it, fixing up and selling it, now you make a killing. But your own personal home is going to be a liability to you. All the things that go wrong in a house, all the things you have to fix up that cause taxes, insurance, mortgage. Look, it's usually cheaper just to rent. Nobody likes to rent, but I'll tell you this. There's a gentleman by the name of Chuck Feeney. He was in the duty-free business. At one point, he was worth over $4 billion, and nobody knew it because his wife was a French citizen living in the Bahamas, and his entire businesses and assets were in her name, so he never paid any IRS, any U.S. taxes. Anyways, Chuck Feeney never owned a home. He rented. He looked at the math. It was better to rent. Okay, so frugal personally. That means you're not blowing money. You don't need to look rich. You don't need to act rich. You just need to be rich. So one of my great examples of this would be like Sam Walton, who started Walmart. He drove a beat-up pickup truck even when he hit the billionaire status. So when Forbes descended upon his property in Arkansas, they found a guy with a beat-up pickup. And they said, "Oh my gosh, you're a billionaire, Sam. Why are you driving a pickup?" He goes, "Why not? It gets me to where I'm supposed to go. Well, who am I trying to impress?" So frugal personally, but business-wise, be intelligent but be aggressive. You may have to take on some debt. That's okay. Because, you know, if you're taking on debt to buy a piece of real estate, well, that real estate's an asset. So it can actually make sure it cash flows positive, make sure you have more equity than you have debt, obviously. But the intelligent use of debt can make a huge difference. There is good debt and bad debt. And good debt can make you extremely productive financially. And bad debt is a bad thing. So bad debt is going to be, you know, boat debt, car debt, anything like that. I own all that stuff outright. All my, you know, cars, boat, all that stuff, I own it outright. Because having any sort of loan on a depreciating asset is such a bad idea. Now, if you do own a home, the interest on your mortgage is tax deductible. So some people leave a little bit of a mortgage on their home, but you know, again, it's usually better to rent altogether. So the best thing to do is probably own your home outright. Okay, so but those are all personal, right? So we want to be frugal personally, but business-wise, we want to go out there, start businesses, we want to invest, and we want to make some money. Now, here's where this also breaks down. Okay, great to have a budget, great to live to blow your means, but you know what? In the real world, you can only save so much on car insurance. Isn't that right? I mean, we have rising gas prices, rising food prices. You go to the grocery store these days, you drop $300 that fast. So the cost to live is pretty high. And so your job, your income, may not even bring you enough so you could ever budget to live below your means. Unless you lived in a house for like $100 a month, and those rentals don't even exist really. So this entire model breaks down when it comes to the fundamental concept of bringing in enough money so you can actually budget, so you can actually live below your means, so you can actually save. Am I right? This is a problem. So Kiyosaki and others of his attitude, their argument was, you need to go start some businesses. You need to become your own business person. And if we go back to almost the Bible of personal finance, the decamillionaires were their own business owners. They had started small, they had built their own businesses. They give examples of people that own junkyards that are worth over 10 million. And you know, just all kinds of businesses. So starting a business is a great way to improve your income, but it doesn't improve right away. Usually it takes a while to get the business up and going. It can take a year, it can take 2 years, just to even get it up and going enough so it's making enough money. Now, as you heard me say at the beginning of the video, I believe that creative real estate investing, the way we do it anyways, is the greatest small business in America. Makes incredible amounts of money, gives you great level of freedom and flexibility, and you can also invest along the way. But starting a business alone isn't the end-all be-all of personal finance, because what you want to have happen is you want your businesses to bring in the money so you can throw that back into investing. So you still live frugally, you save, and all that money is poured back into investments. What kind of investments? Now, I'm not an investment advisor, I guess they have these different designations for them, and you take these classes and courses and stuff on that. My argument is you want to invest in assets that you have complete control over. Do you have complete control over a mutual fund? Absolutely not. You have no control over that. Now, there is some value. Some people diversify into mutual funds, and you may consider doing that. So you've got a, if you think of it like a pie chart, I'm running out of room here, pie chart, you know, you got some in real estate, and then you've got some in precious metals, and then you've got some in a mutual fund, and you can do it that way, that's fine. Because I go back to my theory on both. Might as well do both. Live frugally, invest in some mutual funds, but also invest in assets that you completely control. Real estate's an example. Your own business is an example. You know, this is an awesome little tidbit. So Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest people in American history, at one point he wrote an autobiography. And in that autobiography, he makes mention of how confused he is by how many people he knows that are business owners that take the profits from their businesses and pour them into other people's businesses. And he used to say to himself, why don't they just reinvest the money back into their own business? That's the one they have the most control over. So if your business has tremendous amounts of opportunity, you may want to reinvest it right back in your business. Or invest it in my opinion, in real estate. I think, and you can watch other videos as I describe all the power of being a real estate investor. So the wisdom of personal finance that I'm sharing here is that it's not Dave Ramsey versus Kiyosaki. You know, it's really doing both. On a personal level, being very frugal, living below your means, keeping a budget. I use mint.com. I think it's absolutely fantastic for that. But you know what? Having credit cards, in the real world, you're going to need them. And you know what? You should probably know how to use them reasonably responsibly. It's a good idea to have credit cards if you're going to use them intelligently. If you're going to be, and you know what? If you're going to master personal finance, you need to be able to have the discipline to have big credit cards with no balances on them and only there in case you need them to deploy them on an asset. And the more you save, the more money you can throw back into investing. And the more that you have access to, I'll say this, the older I get, the more I realize how many people don't have just the little bit of money they need for the next opportunity they want to jump into. And they're always thinking, well, all I need is an investor. And maybe you've seen the show Shark Tank. They're always asking these sharks for $25,000 or $50,000. Well, man, if they just had that money, they wouldn't need to go begging and give away 30% of their business. So the key here is frugal personally, aggressive business-wise. Now, if you don't have enough money coming in to even get to this level of budgeting, living below your means, and saving money, then you have to make some changes. Now, Robert Kiyosaki would argue that the old wisdom of go to college, get good grades, get a good job, make a good salary, you know, he eschews that altogether. He just bashes that. And he basically says that that's what his poor dad taught him. And, okay, my attitude, if you have a job and there's a way where you can continue to earn well in your job and then save the rest, fantastic. Throw it back into assets. If you're just starting off and you're trying to figure this whole thing out, I definitely think the faster you can get into the world of business and become a business owner, understanding how to run a business is a much more lucrative way down the road. And, you know, the first couple of years, all the people you know that went and got safe, secure jobs, they're going to be beating you. But over time, this is what's going to happen. They're beating you, and then boom, you knock them out of the park because you just explode past them. Another thing is taxes, by the way. You know, if you own your own businesses and you have assets and you structure them wisely, you can really reduce your tax liability. But people who just have a safe, secure job, you all pay the most in taxes. Employees, attorneys, doctors, high income earners, I mean, they just pay the vast majority in taxes. Whereby if a lot of your income is coming from assets, then all of a sudden your income is not as taxed as heavily. Which I know that's like unfair, but it is the way it is, right? So if you need more money right now, you're going to need to figure that out. And I think the best way to make money in life is to become a business owner, to learn how to make money in business. There's always new business opportunities out there. There's tons of them. You know, and if you know how to capitalize on them, you're going to be a lot wealthier than those that stay in a job. And again, I want to go back to this. You know, the Millionaire Mind, it proves it. You know, it talks about the people that are worth $1 million or $2 million worth the ones that are worth $10 million or more. It's the people that own their own businesses. And it's just that simple. So you own your own businesses and you invest wisely. And so in other words, we go back to this, it's both. It's both these people's attitude and their teaching, and it's partly his as well. You know, he's got a lot of controversy, by the way. And so in some of the stuff I completely disagree with what he teaches. So definitely with caution on that side. But the overall framework of what he shares is incredibly valuable about buying assets, not liabilities, and starting businesses, investing, making those mistakes, getting out there and getting it done. And I really hope that this has provided you with a level of understanding on personal finance that maybe you've never had before. I really wish somebody had put this video together for me about 20 years ago. This would have been really helpful. I had to learn a lot of this on my own and kind of go through that journey on my own and really discover where people were correct and incorrect, because I just went on a binge where I read all these personal finance books. And these kind of things like budgeting, living below your means, this stuff is incredibly valuable. It's what most personal finance books talk about, but very few of them talk about how the heck do you make the money so you can actually get to this level. Well, one of the greatest ways to make money is to be a business owner and to start your own business. All right, well, I'm Phil Pustiowski with freedommentor.com. I'm a real estate investor and mentor. And I didn't talk much about real estate in this video, but I think this is very important, and it applies to just about anybody who is investing in real estate, and that is, are you on the right path or you're on the right plan? And my argument is, if you're trying to get into real estate, that means you're trying to start your own business. That's fantastic. It's a great place to be. Learning those skills will help you become a lot more personally, financially sound than anybody else you know. And that's what happened for me. All right, y'all, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, if you have any questions, comments, you definitely down below here. I try to interact as best I can with my schedule. Pretty busy these days, but every so often I get back inside YouTube and I'll respond to comments, those sorts of things. Also, if you want to, you can check out my book, How to Be a Real Estate Investor. It's an Amazon bestseller and really breaks down, if you have interest in real estate investing, it really breaks it down for you so you can discover exactly how to do it, how the good guys are doing it, how it actually works in the real world. And thanks so much for watching, y'all. Happy investing and good luck mastering personal finance.